thing. Yes, there have been negative aspects of it, unpleasant aspects of it, uncomfortable aspects, aspects I would have preferred not to have had to experience. But as a result of those experiences, so much good has come to me that I can't say it's a bad experience. And I was talking to a client about this week, and he had an experience with a childhood disability that made him feel very different, very singled out, very alone, and basically very damaged as a child. And even though the disability has been overcome as an adult, that the thoughts of that experience remain, the judgment on that experience as a negative experience remained. And I was talking to him about it, and I asked him the question, do you think that your experience of being ostracized and feeling broken, thinking that you were damaged, feeling alone, at times feeling and thinking that he was unloved, so do you think that had anything to do with the great compassion that you have now, and your mercy and your gentleness and your love for people that are struggling or in pain? And he kind of looked at me and he said, yeah, those experiences probably did. And I said, well, don't you think then that maybe if that experience helped create your beautiful compassion, how can you say that the experience is a bad thing? Can't you see that on some level it was good because of what it resulted in? He said, boy, my mind doesn't want to admit that. So he got it, but he also got that the mind doesn't want to see it that way sometimes. And that's true. The mind is going to want to judge and evaluate. And we need to remember, or I would encourage us to remember, I don't like to say things like we need and we have to, but it would behoove us to remember to at least notice and be aware of our judgments of our experiences. And if we're judging something, particularly if we're judging it as negative, to look at those judgments, realize and see them for what they are, and see that in this moment, it may seem negative. We may think it's a negative or bad experience, but we're really not seeing the big picture. When I was spending my days with 104 and 105 fevers and throwing up every time I ate something, I wasn't seeing the big picture very clearly. Now, from where I am now, I can see, what I gained from those experiences and the compassion that it gave me, and the ability to empathize with people who are ill, and a number of other things that came out of that. It would have been easier for me if I had been able to find some gratitude in those moments and just realize that, I realize that I can't see this from the bigger picture from where I'm at now, but I know there is a bigger picture. And I can trust in that bigger picture, and I can trust life, and I can get through this experience. And in those moments, if you can't be grateful for anything other than realizing that there is a bigger picture, be grateful for that. Because the other thing about gratitude is it doesn't really matter what you're grateful for. It's the feeling itself. It's the sense of self. And it's, to quote an Abraham Hicks kind of term, it's the rockets that you send off out into the universe mentally, energetically, that are important. And those rockets, I got a little, I'm on a little listserv, and they send me little just kind of thoughts for the day. And the one the other day was, you've heard the statement, thoughts become things. The thing to remember is, they all do. Unfortunately for us, they don't all immediately manifest into things. But every thought, every energetic position that you hold, every attitude of gratitude, every attitude of negativity and resistance is impacting and creating and culminating together to create your individual personal experience. It's also vibrating out into the universe and impacting and creating and affecting the experiences of all of us, the experience of everything. Those people around us, and you've certainly seen this if you've ever worked in an office and had the office manager come in a bad mood, pretty much that can wreck the whole office group, in a little while. Same thing if somebody comes in a really good mood, you can notice how the environment will seem a little bit better. The places we hold reverberate out. And you know, I came to Ohm from a different perspective than a lot of folks. I didn't have the background in metaphysics and some of the other things that a lot of people did. So some of the more kind of magical stuff that I began to get exposed to seemed very alien and foreign to me. But I have found my magic through this power of gratitude and intention, and that literally this holding a grateful attitude and a grateful position, a grateful energy, a grateful space will almost immediately impact your environment and the experiences that you have. And one of my most profound experiences of this, in a way, seems kind of minor, but it was really significant in the moment. And this was very early on in my getting acquainted with Madame. But at that point in time, my former partner and I had been separated for a little over a year, and we were still interacting. We were still talking on the phone and having conversations out of necessity, settling business and so forth. But he always managed to push my emotional buttons. And every phone call, I ended up just feeling like I wanted to just crawl in a hole. It just left me feeling guilty and sad and pretty miserable. And I can remember driving to work one day, and Madame and I had a conversation about intentionality and about being in gratitude. And I thought, oh, this is one of those days that, you know, this is about time for Jeff to call me again, and I just don't want to go through another one of those phone calls. I don't want to end up feeling rotten when I hang up the phone. So I said, I am just going to, I know he has the ability to get beyond this, and I know that he's a strong enough person to stand on his own and quit pushing my guilt buttons and making me feel sorry for him. So if he calls me today, this phone call is going to end positively. He's going to get it. We're going to get back to that good space. And I drove into the office, and the phone rang, and I looked at it, and I went, oh, here we go. No, this is going to go well. And as soon as I got that thought, and I paused just long enough to feel what it would feel like for it to go well, that ease. And I felt that feeling for a minute, even though I had to kind of create it. And I answered the phone, and lo and behold, for the first time in a year, we had a decent conversation. And I hung up the phone, and I went, wow, this works! Now, it doesn't always work with that kind of immediacy, but I can guarantee you that it works. It may not work with an immediacy that's that obvious to you. It works, and it works immediately. The way it manifests and the way it appears may not be what you necessarily expect. So it is worthwhile to keep an open mind in the process. But this attitude of gratitude will literally change your experience and change the experience of those around you in your immediate circle, as well as reverberating out globally. Now, having said all this, I want to switch gears a little bit and tell you a little bit about Madame and what he's doing this weekend and how we're going to assist him in what he's doing. Madame's in Virginia with his friends Rick and Nat. And Nat, if I remember correctly, was Madame's third grade teacher. And they have remained friends and remained close pretty much throughout the years. And her husband Rick is going through a difficult time, and I don't know a lot of the details. But Madame is there this weekend offering spiritual support, just simply offering spiritual support, and doing some energy work, some healing type work, for lack of a better way to put it. And we're going to support him in doing that and assist him in doing that. And the way we're going to do that is by finding our own space of gratitude, because I have been looking at these sort of concepts of non-directive intentionality. And this goes back to the law of attraction and how, the law of attraction talked about how you could focus on and attract the house or the car or whatever that you wanted. And non-directive intentionality is a different approach to it a little bit. It's basically taking the attitude that, yes, life, yes, universe, yes, God, I know that you are more than willing to give me every